Alrighty, hello everybody, and welcome to another Midlife Mojo Mondays. I'm Jill Lebofsky, Midlife Mojo Master, and you guys know that I'm here every single Monday in our Midlife Mojo group at the 2 p.m.-ish Eastern Standard Time hour. Relatively on time today, not so bad, I have to say for myself. Little pat on the back there. But every single Monday, I come here and I just try to bring you guys some either inspiration, motivation, definitely some education. Maybe I'll do a demo. Every other week, I'm trying to have a special guest to share some of their gifts with all of you that I think would be really beneficial for the midlife women so that help her thrive during these years. So tune in definitely every single Monday or look for the recordings afterwards in the group just to kind of get a little fix for the morning here, or for the Monday, the beginning of the week, I should say. So let me just make myself big. There we go. So this week in the Midlife Mojo group, you've probably noticed every Sunday I send out a post that is kind of the theme, the loose theme of the week in the group. So the posts and the conversation is loosely around that theme every single week. And this week's theme was the power of touch. And I really got to thinking about this power of touch theme because, for the first time in most of our lifetimes, really like to touch someone is not good, right? Could almost be deadly. People are scared of touching other people. It's a very, very weird time that, we live in. And I think that appreciation of a hug or a handshake, it's something that we can just appreciate so much more now than we might have, even just a year ago, which is so crazy to think. My husband actually even brought that up to me over the weekend, which got me thinking about it. He asked me, when do you think we're going to become a handshaking society again? And I don't even know, definitely something to think about. And it really, in terms of the touch as a sense and what it means, this power of touch between humans, there's so much communication, nonverbal, that goes on between touch. There's so much energy that's exchanged through touch. There's so much, so much to this. And so when we take away that, a person no longer has that touch on a regular basis, it can start to cause some physical and emotional changes, and usually not for the good. So the power of touch is so important, right? As people age, especially because as people age, they seem to be physically touched less. When you're younger and you're raising your kids, you've got your little kids hanging all over you, mommy, right? Putting their heads on your shoulders. Maybe with your spouse when you were younger, you were a lot more touchy-feely, maybe arms around each other, holding hands a lot more, and that seems to not happen as often. Maybe your teenage kids, right? They're just too cool now, like to be touched or hugged by mom. Even grandbabies, right? I mean, you may get that loving from your grandbabies, but they might not live that close to you. So you're not getting it on that consistent basis. And then I also was even thinking about the people in the workplace and how touch, even then, right? Again, you're shaking hands, a coworker puts their hand on your arm there for a second, right? And just kind of, says, how you doing? Gives you a little squeeze, whatever it may be. And so I do think that it's really important for us to kind of think about this concept of power of touch, especially in this COVID era, and how we can get it in our lives as much as possible. Yes, definitely critical for our emotional health. Absolutely. Thank you for tuning in today. Unfortunately, I can't see your name unless you put it in you either had to have attached, you had to either grab my screen share, my link there to get your name, or you got to put your name in the comments so I can see it. But I do appreciate you jumping in there for sure. So also, I was thinking for a lot of midlife women where maybe with your relationship, your spouse, your partner, you were very hot and heavy in the bedroom before, you're getting a lot of your touch on a maybe daily or definitely 4 or 5 times a week basis. And now as you both are aging, the libido for both of you may be a little bit lacking, or one of you maybe be a little lacking, but therefore we're not having as much interaction, right? We're also talking about things like, as we're talking about midlife women and sex, as we get older, sex becomes more uncomfortable, right? Because of vaginal dryness. So we're not wanting it as much. So we're maybe not having that contact. If a man is having trouble getting erect, right, or staying erect, or having just any of his issues, he may be embarrassed or whatever. And so he's not reaching out in the same ways that he might have. We all know, I know this for a fact because I just have seen it so many times with my clients and things that they've said, but a lot of times they've gained weight during this time and people are now uncomfortable with their body. And so they don't like that feeling of somebody touching their body anymore. So yeah, Becky, I miss hugs, right? I mean, it's so weird with my parents. For the longest time, we weren't, and now I have to admit I am hugging them, but I'm so beyond careful. It's ridiculous, and so are they. But it's still a kind of like a half-hearted, like from the distance away. It's still not like a big old bear hug, right? And Sue Warren, yeah, missing hugs with friends. I did this about, I would say this is the summer. It was the first, I was, hadn't seen a soul from like March. And in June, I went and had this thing to get my hair cut. And then there, out of nowhere, was like one of my closest friends who I hadn't seen, who actually lives 2 towns away. I don't even know why we were at the same hairdresser. And without thinking, I was like, ah! And it's like I stopped short like this. And it was such a yucky feeling. Like, what a yucky feeling. So we want to try this. Today's topic is really going to be about why touch is important and how we can try and get it into our lives, both in sexual ways, but also non-sexual ways throughout the day. So why is skin so important? That skin to skin contact is vital for our mental and our emotional health, but also our physical health. So when you are overwhelmed and you get really stressed out, the hormone cortisol is released, right? And one of the biggest things that we can do to reduce stress is that touch. And that cortisol that's released, that contributes a lot to stubborn fat. But also when we have this stress response, right? We're stressed out in that way, our immune system goes down. So just by having this, whatever is a hug or something that can just reduce our stress levels and increase our immune system. And that's just amazing, right? Why isn't that? You can give somebody, here we're talking about like giving hugs and it hurting somebody, but actually a hug can help somebody's immune system. So we just got to figure out a way to do that safely, right? And then touch can also calm certain body functions, like your heart rate and your blood pressure. Right? Think about like when you're all hyper and you're maybe hysterically crying or you're upset about something and just somebody putting their arms around you, even if they don't say anything, that just touch just kind of soothes you, calms your heart rate, calms that blood pressure, right? And it does so by stimulating these pressure receptors that transport the signals to the vagus nerve, which just controls the heart, right? And this nerve connects the brain to, the brain to the rest of the body, and it uses the signals to slow the pace of the nervous system, right? So definitely just by touching somebody, you can slow your heart rate down. You can, help your blood pressure. You can help your immune system. And then I was thinking back to when we were, when my babies were young, right? And you had your baby, the first thing they want you to do is like mom and dad take their shirt off, and that skin to skin contact being crucial for that healthy relationships, right? Just that bonding that happens in those early days of that skin to skin contact, right? It stimulates the oxytocin for that mom and that baby. It has that natural antidepressant serotonin that's released, and that pleasure chemical dopamine. So there's a lot to being that hug. Scalp, neck massage is part of self-care. Love it. Yeah, I'm going to give some suggestions. You guys got them. Throw them in here because the more the merrier. I just want people, I only came up with a few, and I really want people to have an arsenal of ways to help themselves. And I love that, the scalp and the neck massages. You could even like buy some of those, like handheld ones and do it. That's a great idea. I didn't have that one down on my list. So thank you. And then also touch tackles loneliness, right? So even sometimes a gentle touch from a stranger has been shown to reduce social feelings of, and of just distancing or social exclusion. I'm a big like toucher. Like I definitely, not in this day and age, but prior to this, I was definitely the person who, if I was talking to a stranger, would, and I was saying something like, oh, I would touch them. Of course, you also have to be conscious of that and read people's body language when it comes to touch, because for some people have had bad experiences with touch. They're very uncomfortable with touch. Maybe they have some, some kind of brain, that doesn't like that touch feeling. A lot of people have either ADHD or some kind of form of autism, and that sometimes makes people not liking touch. So there's a lot of reasons you can't just go and give everybody a bear hug. I've learned that, right? You have to kind of read that body language. But I just think even just sometimes You can kind of tell if you go to put your hand on somebody's shoulder or just give them, it just means something to people, and it gives you that extra little energy and that connection between you. And it can make a smile on your day. Like I really do try to do that with strangers, because you just never know what's going on for somebody, and something just so tiny like that can make somebody's day. It might have been the only touch they've had that day, that week, that month, that year. So I wanted to introduce today some, as I said, sexual and non-sexual ways to introduce touch into our lives. We know that in my Midlife Mojo group, right, I talk a lot about, women and their sexual issues and their libido. I've got my ebook, Sizzling Sex in the Kitchen, and all that. And so I think it's an important topic. So I'm going to start with that. But I also really believe so much in non-sexual touch can do so much for us. It doesn't have to be all, hot and heavy for it to be meaningful and do what it's meant to. But in order to get, in terms of, sexual touch, in order to get more touch, you have to want more touch, right? And so if you're not in the mood or you're not feeling it, you first have to start there. And so in my No Sweat, It's Just, I never get right there. My No Sweat, It's Just Menopause, Eating, Exercise, and Essential Oils book, I talk about different ways that you can get your hormonal support that can help increase your libido. So things like clary sage is a great one for supporting, your hormonal support and helping your libido. It's also great for vaginal, helping with vaginal dryness, using a little bit of clary sage rubbed on your belly, or put with some olive oil drops into some capsules and taking them on a regular basis can help with the vaginal lubrication, can help with you wanting it more. Because if you're not feeling comfortable, it's hurting. You don't really, you're like, stand off a little bit, right? You don't want that. We want good touch, not uncomfortable touch. And so you can even make your own lubricants too. Young Living has Sensation Massage Oil that I personally use as our natural lubricant, as just a nice way to massage all over and just kind of help everything glide nice and easy. But you can make your own with coconut oil, or you can add essential oils to the coconut oil. I have a recipe for that in my book as well. But just, when the gliding parts move nicely and the friction is reduced, that touch you're going to want even more. And just as a little aside, the reason why that pain is happening is because the walls of the vagina are actually thinning as we get older. And so we need that extra lubrication to help us. So I just don't want people giving up because it hurts, right? There are ways that we can get around it. And it's something that I still, to this day, I struggle with sometimes. And so that I'm still working on. Some days everything glides nice and easy and feels great. And other days, not so much. So, that's because of fluctuating hormones. And so we're all works in progress for sure. And then also for him, you can also do lubricants that have coconut oil with something like goldenrod, right? If he's having trouble with his own, issues with standing up to attention, his endurance issues, and so forth, you can help him in that way and support his system. And right, when you both are functioning, the body parts are functioning, then touch becomes like it used to be, and right where you want it more. So I just kind of thought of some foreplay ways that maybe are having nothing to do with actual intercourse, which may right now be off the table or just not really on the table as much as you'd like it to be. But just because you're not actually having physical penetration doesn't mean that you can't have all of the loving and the goodness from that. From that. Yeah, there are definitely some good things for his libido. Pomegranates are good. Eggs are good. Go ahead and go. It's like very inexpensive, but if you go to my website, it's called Sizzling Sex Starts in the Kitchen, and a whole bunch of suggestions in there in that book, as well as a recipe book, Kitchen Foreplay, that goes with it. But if you also just go into my Midlife Mojo group and put in anything kind of around that topic, I think there's even a topic section. I've done videos on that as well, especially when I was launching my book back in the August, September time. And you can find some more for that. Definitely some foods for him. Absolutely. Celery, that's another good one. Anyways, all right. So some foreplays ideas. So ideas having nothing to do with penetration, but just ways of getting some sensual, more like sensual touch in. So some ideas I had were shaving legs, right? So you can just either, number one, just shaving your own legs with like something like a Mira shaving oil, which Mirror Shaving Oils by Young Living. It's a combination of all these essential oils and just smells, but just feels so luxurious. But even kind of, he can shave your legs for you, right? Or maybe you even shave, give him a close shave. That can be a very sensual act. Showering together, right? Shampooing each other's hair. Maybe if it's even just in the sink. You mentioned that scalp and that neck part of self-care. You can also do that to each other. It feels good. Just somebody brushing your hair, just somebody sitting behind you. Seems kind of like old fashioned in that sense, but some people like that feeling of somebody else brushing their hair. And Susan, you mentioned the scalp and the neck massage. You can also do hand massages, wax massages with your hands are really nice. You can do feet massages with our oils. Just cuddling, right? Just getting into bed and just snuggling, or on the couch. Just, a lot of times you're sitting there, even just watching TV on two different couches. I love sitting on the couch, sit next to each other and snuggle a little bit, right? And then when I say cuddle, I've read about this. I know, I've seen that they actually, more in the big cities, I think, but they actually have cuddle partners. You can pay people to actually cuddle with you. Can't believe something like that exists, but that does. And so maybe if that's something you really are seeking, maybe there are people who are cuddle partners that you can actually pay to do that. But if you've got your own cuddle buddy or snuggle buddy that lives in your household, you can do that as well. And then, as I mentioned, kind of just sitting close on the couch while you're watching TV. You never know where that kind of stuff leads to, right? Hands can wander all over the place while you're watching TV. You never know. And then what about just dancing, right? Just that simple act, whether, maybe you're not going out dancing anymore, but just putting on some soft music in your own home and just holding each other and dancing. That could be something really nice. So some things that satisfy touch and sensation that are more of the, that can satisfy that craving that we have for touch, that biological need we have for touch without it being sexual. Some things that you can do are, right, massaging. So you can do that scalp and neck for yourself, but you can also go get a full body massage, pay somebody to give you a massage. And that just always feels so good, that exchange of positive energy, just that touch alone. And I have had clients, multiple clients actually, who were single and they craved that touch, and, and they loved getting their massages for that. It just kind of, there was nothing sexual in any way, shape, or form about it. It was just that, satisfying that physical need for that. And it's just proven way. It just helps to relax our body and our minds. And then how about our fur babies, right? Our fur babies love to cuddle. Just something about stroking the fur and just doing that motion. You're getting the touch, they're getting the touch. Maybe you've got a licker like I do, who likes to lick your hands, you're getting the touch. But animals are a great way to get our touch in. So definitely, and I'm not a cat person, but that's the one thing I miss. My dogs are too big. I wish I had a little lap dog or cat just for that one purpose, just to sit there and just stroke. It can, going back to that, calming your heart rate, calming your blood pressure. I know that when I'm physically upset, I'm there with my dog. That motion just makes me feel better. And then who can resist those happy little faces anyways, right? And then something as simple as getting our nails done, right? You got that nail technician. A lot of times they do those hand massages. As I said, they put your hand maybe in the wax, but again, you're kind of just getting that touch. Same thing with your toes, right? The pedicure. Ooh, I love my pedis when they put the hot towels. I literally go for the leg and the foot massages for the pedicures. So those are a really nice thing to do as well. Same thing with your hair, right? You get somebody, I love when they just sit there and they, do my massage. As you mentioned, that scalp, nothing feels better than a scalp massage. And they really get in there, right? And you just feel good. So what a great way to get kind of a 2-in-1, right? A twofer. You get your touch in for the day, but you also get to look, get yourself a new do. And then I mentioned that, dancing, right? So maybe again, not in this moment, but I've had a lot of friends who have just gone and they've taken dance lessons. And I've had one friend who actually met her husband 20 years ago. They were in their 20s at the time, and they both were taking some kind of dance class, ballroom dance classing. And he was practically the only guy in there, and she didn't have a partner. And so, and they ended up getting married from that. So you never know where things lead. But again, that touch. So yes, nail therapy. Yes. Lovely, lovely. So that's kind of all I got on the topic of touch today. It's a little shorter than usual today, but I just wanted to, hop on here because again, my husband kind of sparked that idea of, yeah, when are we going to become a handshaking society again? I was like, yeah, wow, like how many people are really missing out on that touch? And I got to be honest, that's why I hug both my parents. We're so careful, as careful as we can be, but I feel like they, without that, that's something they need for their psyche and for their physical. So just a couple of things to wrap things up of what I've got going on here in the Midlife Mojo world as we start 2021. Highly ambitious 2021 I've got on my plate here. So right now I'm in the middle of doing my free webinar, 3 simple ways that midlife women can create lasting weight loss. And I did it last week, had rave reviews. So I'm doing it again tonight at 7 p.m., tomorrow at 11 a.m., and Wednesday at 9 p.m. That's all Eastern time. So I've posted it all over the site. You can find it there, but it's midlifemojoforwomen.com/register webinar. And then that'll give you the link. It's the same link for all of them. And then in that webinar, I am also, at the end of it, I share my 6-week Win at Weight Loss program. And I just finished up the beta program in November. We did that. I had 25 ladies go through. Every single person lost weight. They loved it. It was so wonderful. It was just a great sisterhood. And I'm excited to launch it again. We're actually launching on Thursday as our prep call. And we officially launch on Monday. So that webinar, for anybody who attends that webinar, either live or I will be sending out the replay today or tomorrow, and goes ahead and joins using that link that I share in the webinar, you're going to get $400 off the regular price. If you're a Young Living member, you get an additional $250, but you do have to buy your own supplies, but you do get an additional $250 off the cost. I do offer split payments. You can split those payments, whether you're a Young Living member or you're paying the full price there as a non-Young Living member, because I'm buying you your supplies that you need. There's a split payment for you guys. There's also a 30-day money-back guarantee. So I really try to make this not a risk to anybody because I want you guys to get this information and for you guys to lose this weight for good. So definitely check out the webinar, either live, join me live, get your questions answered. I also give some attendance bonuses for those who do attend live. And then for those who are joining the program, you join the 6 weeks using that link. In addition to everything that you'll see on that link, I'm giving away 3 extra bonuses for those who come via the webinar, and you can hear about those in the webinar. And then the other thing that I am launching this week that is going, our first one is February 9th. I'm so excited. I am partnering up with Chef Mary Mick. If you don't know her, she's from Culinary Clean, and she is a professionally trained chef, but she also, all of her cookbooks incorporate the Young Living Vitality Essential Oils. So her and I have teamed up for this year, and we're doing a 6-series class called Midlife and Munchies. And it's going to be every other month. The first one is in February for Valentine's Day. It'll be a 2-hour class. There'll be education from me, and I'll do a DIY recipe with the oils to help you with something, whatever the topic is of that month. And the first one has to do all around the sex topic. So we're going to be doing an edible massage oil. And then Mary is going to do 2 cooking demonstrations. And she has got 2 different recipes. And you're going to get all the recipes for all the DIY and her stuff. You're going to get the replay. You're going to get us live for 2 hours. And Mary is going to do a demonstration of a citrus-infused whipped cream for Valentine's Day and a citrus-infused hot fudge. So definitely you guys are going to be able to get it. Buy them by the class, buy them by the 3-pack and mix and match, or buy all 6 since you're going to get the replays and all the recipes anyways. And so I actually haven't officially shared that yet. I'm going to be doing that this afternoon after this class in the group. So you can look for the link for that. And I think that is it. All great stuff going on in the Midlife Mojo world. Make sure that you tune into these Midlife Mojo Mondays every single Monday at 2 p.m. Next week, I've got a special guest, one of our own from the group, Marva Riley. I'm going to be interviewing her. And then look for my once a month, my Wednesday Women with Mojos, where I interview a woman with some kind of inspiring motivating stories that, women over 40 specifically, to share, that I think can just help us all feel inspired in our lives. So that is it. Thank you so much for joining me, Becky and Susan, and all of you watching the replay, and just have a wonderful week. Definitely catch that webinar either live or check out the Win at Weight Loss 6-week program. Definitely ask some questions, check out the Midlife and Munchies, and I will see you in the group. Bye-bye.